Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about One Piece Chapter 952, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. We get some more jumping around and just a lot of information. We got a few new, well, more than a few. 4 new characters, and some really interesting little tidbits here and there. So let's get started. So first off, we start up back where Zoro is, and he's back at the bridge with Yukimaro, and he's basically just beefing with him. They really are just kind of going at each other, saying like, why are you here, blah, 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 blah. And Zoro just wants his sword back. Yukimaro brings back up that the sword was stolen from Wano, and ever since then, they basically had misfortune. And he doesn't say outright, but basically, theoretically, after Shusui was stolen, that's when, like, Kaido was coming in, and all that kind of stuff. So, it seems like probably coincidental, but it seems like at least some people, him at the very least, think that after the sword was stolen, that's when their misfortune was taking place. As they're kind of squabbling, and I say squabbling because they really weren't apparently trying to kill each other, but as they're kind of going at each other, Kawamatsu shows up, so this is where he had to go. Presumably he knew, I guess, Yukimaro, because he said he needed to go take care of some business. He may or may not have said that he needed to go see somebody, but I'm not sure about that. Either way, this is where he needed to be, but ultimately, at this point, it's just him interrupting Yukimaro and Zoro kind of squabbling, I guess. We then jump back to Onigashima, where Kaido and Big Mom are still going at it. Apparently, they've been just going at it and fighting this entire evening and night and whatever. They've just been non-stop fighting. The island is potentially going to be ruined by them. I had a thought while I was reading. I was like, what if Luffy and everybody get to the island and it's just ruined because Kaido and Big Mom have just been fighting, and it's just they end up getting there. Everybody's evacuated. It's just them on the island. They've already beaten each other to a pulp, and the island's just a mess. One thing I will say, though, is that Kaido's people are, like, saying, oh, should we still evacuate, blah, 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 blah. They said that in the last thing, and if they haven't already, really, I mean, just do it or don't do it, but don't act like you're, like, still pondering it. Either you're gonna run away from the Yonkos fighting, or you're not. Although, Queen does tell all of them to be like, hey, do not run away. Don't get out of here while your, like, captain's fighting. Like, just stay strong. Be with him or whatever. Meanwhile, he's basically eluding every other sentence that he wants to leave himself. He's trying to think of reasons that maybe sound actually important to get out of there. So he's like, oh, he's gonna go check up on Udon Prison. And they're like, hey, I think you're probably just trying to get out of here. And then coincidentally, he actually gets a call from Babanuki. And this call is a little weird, especially right in the beginning of it, because you're thinking like, okay, well, clearly things are not okay for them at Udon Prison. Luffy and everybody basically took over, so why would Babanuki be calling them? And it seems a little weird. At first in my head, I was thinking, oh, well, maybe somebody like Raizo was impersonating him, or some kind of trick there, and there was a trick. But they basically ultimately say, hey, everything's chill. Nobody needs to come back here. Take your time. Do whatever you need. Queen offers to send some people back if they really needed help. But Babanuki's like, nope, we got everything covered. All the prisoners are back in their cells, and they're being punished or whatever. So everything's chill. Queen doesn't seem too sure about this. One, he wants to go back because he wants to get off the island, get away from Big Mom and Kaido fighting. And two, he kind of like seems a little bit like, like maybe this isn't the way that Babanuki actually talks normally. But he seems a little suspicious, although they don't really, like, hammer it in. We then jump directly to the prison, and it turns out that it was, in fact, Babanuki talking. And on top of that, he's doing this because it turns out that he's eating Tama's little, like, dumpling dango things. And so it works on not only just regular animals, but also animal people. So that's cool. Over the next couple pages, it's basically just them being like, hey, everything's looking up. We have our people. We have this Udon Prison basically as a base, and they don't know what's going on. So we're in good shape. And I don't know what they're going to do with Caribou. He's not a good guy. He certainly doesn't really care about Wano. And he doesn't care about the people of Wano. So I imagine at some point he's going to have, like, an unsurprising heel turn. Granted, he's kind of already a heel anyways. But I have a feeling that he's going to end up changing his mind about where his duties align. So even if he feels like he has some kind of debt to pay to, like, I guess Luffy in a way, and Old Man Hyo and everybody, and Raizo specifically, I feel like he'll probably betray them at some point because he's a little bit of a snake. And while they're chatting about how things are kind of starting to look up, Luffy's acting like an idiot in the background, shouting and being like, yeah, we're gonna do this, yeah! He's finally earned the trust of all the prisoners because of Momonosuke being around and him being friends with Momonosuke. So really, just having him out with him was enough to get everybody on his side. So it's just kind of really funny to see Luffy acting like an idiot now that he's all healed up from the medicine that Chopper made for the virus. Meanwhile, we actually meet 4 new characters, and they are the Yakuza of each of the areas of Wano, and they have mad respect for Old Man Hyo. So, the 4 Yakuza bosses that we meet are, from Udon, Blood Writing Omasa, then from Hakumai, Split Hat Tsunagoro, then from Ringo, Ocho the Bottle Gourd, which is a little redundant since a gourd is kind of already a bottle. It depends on what it is. Either way, then we have from Kiba, Snake Eyes Yatape, and they're all pretty chill. They have, again, like I said, mad respect for Old Man Hyo. So after kind of like introducing themselves again to Old Man Hyo and being like, hey, we're glad you're alive, we're glad everything's chill, they're basically like, we're gonna spend our time now going after all the traitors that screwed us over and everything. And then Luffy comes in and he's like, oh, hey, Gramps, who are these guys? Your friends? That's cool. And they all, like, suddenly go from this, like, oh, they're happy to see Old Man Hyo, to, like, this angry, like, they start trying to, like, pluck, like, fingernails off Luffy and, like, chopping pinky fingers, like, serious Yakuza. And they're like, you should watch your mouth around the boss and don't use that saucy language around him and watch your manners. And Luffy's just like, I don't care. After they let him go because Old Man Hyo is like, wait, I owe him my life. Chill out. Everybody calm down. And they kind of go off and they're like, Luffy, you're lucky. And he doesn't care. It was kind of a pretty funny moment. We then jump back to Kinemon, Ashura, and Inuarashi, and it turns out that Ashura was the one who stole the plans to the Onigashima mansion for Kaido, so basically they're all set. They thought they were kind of screwed in that regard because somebody from Curry stole the plans to the mansion, and they needed the plans in order to have some kind of, like, execution plan for their own attack on it, but it turned out it was all chill anyways because somebody on their side took it. This is when Raizo calls Kinemon and they have a good old chat about how they got like 3,000 plus people from the prison. They got Kawamatsu. They are on top of it as far as like manpower, and they're on their way and they're gonna get more people. And this is like really good news to Kinemon because at this point he's still thinking, oh, well, a bunch of people got trapped in prisons back at the capital and all that, and things were kind of starting to fall apart in terms of, like, their manpower, but now they have crazy people, and they're in good shape. Also, again, we see Luffy is back at being an idiot with the crowd of people and, like, chanting and cheering in the background. So that, I actually really like that they had, like, little tidbits of Luffy just being, like, he's done with his fighting, so now he's just gonna party. There is one little hiccup, though, that they have to address. They have the manpower now, or they have a good amount of people so far, but those people are not going to put up much of a fight if they don't have weapons. Many of them are samurai, and many of them are just warriors in general, so they need some kind of weapons, and since there's a ban on, like, katanas and weapons in Wano for regular people that are not part of, like, Orochi's people or Kaido's crew. So they're in pretty tough shape. But there are apparently, like, weapons factories that they can go get stuff. And Kinemon is on the case. Finally, we jump back to the bridge with Zoro, Kawamatsu, and Yukimaru and Hiyori, and basically Hiyori and Kawamatsu get a little closure. She apologized for leaving him, and it was really that she didn't want to see him waste away, and not that he looked like a, you know, a fish man. So they get a good little couple of panels to just kind of like get some closure and be like, hey, I missed you, all that. It was very nice. However, this is interrupted by, I believe they're probably Kaido's crew, at the very least, like, lower members, and they are shooting their guns off, and they end up hitting Gyukimaru, and they're angry at him specifically because Gyukimaru stole their weapons, which is something he's known to do. So now they gotta deal with that. It's not gonna be a big deal. Zoro and Kawamatsu take them all or mostly out in one, like, big slash. You see them basically grabbing their swords and they're like, bam, we're done here. The weird thing here is, though, that while they're fighting those people off, Yukimaru actually turns tail and starts running away. So I know on one side it's like he got hit, so it's like maybe it's just self-preservation, but he kind of like is starting to cry and is like, oh, I'm glad that Master Kawamatsu's back. But like, why would he be running away if he knows that like Kawamatsu and Zoro are just gonna take out those guys? Like, it seems like there's something up maybe with that. But I do think that with now Zoro being at least introduced to Kawamatsu and like them both knowing Luffy and like they'll have a moment where they're being like, oh, you know him too? I guess we should be friends. So if Gyukimaru is chill with Kawamatsu, maybe Zoro will get Shusui back and there will be a whole thing. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe Zoro will get another sword. Something equally good, I guess. We shall see. Overall, I actually really liked this chapter. I thought it was a lot of fun, but also kind of moved us along, and it was a little incremental in a sense, because it was like, okay, well, they finally told Kinemon about all the people, which is something that maybe they could have done before, or whatever. Probably not. Either way, I enjoyed it. That's basically the bottom line. I'm really excited to see what happens now, because it's either they can follow Zoro's stuff. I feel like they probably won't touch too much other than just a few things here and there with Luffy and people at the prison, because their like main thing is kind of done. So they could follow Zoro and see what happens with him. Maybe they could jump back to like Nami and Kanjuro and Frankie and all that. They could continue on with where Kinemon's going, because he's going to make a village nearby their base, I guess. So they could go a number of different ways with this, Oda, I mean. And I'm really kind of excited to see where he goes. They could even actually just continue on with Big Mom and Kaido fighting. Either way, no matter what happens, it's going to be exciting. Well, those are my thoughts on this chapter. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. That way you'll get all the notifications when I upload. I will see you guys in another video. So long!